Right, onto the technical side of the rune system. Now, you remember in the previous one how I basically said that everything to do with the seasons revolved around the timer? Well, for this, everything revolves around the multi-block structure. Multi-block structures are super simple to actually set up and, well, test for in Minecraft using commands. And that's sort of why I like actually utilizing them. Because again, so easy to actually find and use. So let's open up the commands and go through them. Now I've labeled them all drop crafting, pretty self-explaining, right? So if we look for Crucible, there we go, runes. So straight away, one little segment should stand out, and that is this statement. So all this is doing is looking for that multi-block structure. If we copy it over, we can actually, not do that. There we go. Set it up so we can show this off a little bit better than we did with the seasons. So we paste this in fact, sorry, we got to do executes if entity will do us, right? No, sorry, execute at us. Then we can paste in our if statements, run, say hi. Turn it on, so no hi yet, but if we jump into the Crucible ourselves, there you go, world saying hi to us. So super easy to test for, and that's how I set up all the different structures. I mean, a single block in itself is easy enough to test for. Again, you just cut this back down to just if block and then find its position relative to whatever you're testing for, and then assign the block. So for instance, the ancient debris and the nail system, that's all I'm doing is I'm looking for when there's an iron nugget on top of an ancient debris. If it is, it transitions to an iron nail using custom model data and plays a sound effect and a little particle sequence. So 3 commands is all you need for drop crafting. So much simpler than setting up, fake UIs. UIs? Not UIs. Well, I guess they're both the same, right? General, and then just UI. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. In a chest or a barrel, I think is what you use. Usually color this in, change the name, and then have different arrows or pictures. Oh, it seems like a headache, to be honest to me. So I've just gone with drop crafting. That's not to say anyone who actually uses those is far more brilliant than I, because again, I'm taking the easy way out. But yeah, let's go through it stage by stage, right? So paper plus our little glow ink sac gets us our infused paper. That in itself is a simple enough one to explain. We'll open our folder and we'll look for our grinder. Here we are, 3-second drop crafting grinder. It should be the very first one on the list. So again, we're executing at a specific item. So item, then the NBT has to match it. So glow ink sac. And then if entity, another item, paper, distance of 1. So it's on the same block or around the same block. And then again, we're looking for our lodestone and our grindstone. So lodestone has to be 1 block below the ink sac, and then the grindstone has to be on the same block. So you have to throw your items between the two. After that, all we do is run summon item paper with custom model data. So this is how I allocate all the different sprites. I use 1997 just as my own sort of number code so that there's no overlap if you try to run this with another data pack, or less of a chance. And then we also just change the display name. Now, in thinking about this, I could easily just change this to a data modify command and modify the paper that you do throw. But either way, 4 commands, 3 commands, doesn't matter. It's still easy enough. This has 4 because we also run a cleanup command, if you will, to delete the normal paper. So then we execute at the glowing sac, paper, and our new paper. So 3 items this time. Our sound effect, so grindstone, block, grindstone. And then our particle effect, so glow, squid, ink. And then our cleanup command to actually delete the other 2 items. So we delete any item that isn't Minecraft paper with the custom model data and the special display name. And this is, again, the core principle that I use for all drop crafting. You locate the structure, so if block -1 lodestone, if block same level grindstone, your items that you're throwing in to craft, so ink sac and paper, and then your output, if you will, which in this case is another piece of paper with a different model and a name infused paper. After that, you then use the situation created that there are now those 3 items, your 2 input and your 1 output, to run your sound effect so it doesn't continuously trigger, your particle, and your cleanup command to delete the 2 inputs. And then this is the same method that I use for the Crucible side of the crafting. So for instance, if we call this alert, grab ourselves out some glowstone, I'm now looking for a infused paper with the alert name rather than infused paper, but still the custom model data 1997-1 and glowstone dust. As long as it's inside the multi-block structure, right in the center here, they will craft together into our rune. So if we open drop crafting crucible runes, this should be that exact mechanism. So we're executing at paper again with the model data display, so it has been changed to alert if our multi-block structure exists, and then if there's another entity, another item, glowstone dust, within a distance of 1, it's going to summon our new item, experience bottle, with again, new model data and a new name, inscribed rune with the lore alert. Now, this one is organized a little bit differently. The reason for that is the secondary effects, so the particle, the sound effect, and the cleanup command, I can run off of all 20 different crafting recipes, if you will. So if we scroll down about halfway, we should find the 3. What am I saying? We're in Word. I can just use Control F to find the cleanup command. There we go. So these should be the 3 cleanup. 1, 2, and 3. So again, we're executing at our paper, and then our multi-block structure, and then our secondary piece of paper, which has a universal little bit of data, if you will. So you have to have something that matches across all the different crafting recipes, and in this case it is the name inscribed rune, so that we can locate all 20 different types as a single entity. So if it finds both of those things, the initial paper with the model data, regardless of its name, as well as the new output of the crafting recipe, it is then going to play our sound effect, play our particle effect, and clean up all the items that aren't our new output items. So as long as it's not the inscribed rune, they get deleted, and that is how we actually do our drop crafting, if you will. Right, and that leaves the last sort of mechanic, aside from the actual effects, which are simple enough. All I'm doing is detecting if there's a player on top of an item frame with the item inside and running an area effect cloud. But the more interesting effect, if you will, is probably the membrane paste and the iron nail to turn item frames invisible and to fix them in place so they don't get deleted if they're suffocated in a block, for instance. So it doesn't actually drop off and spurt out, if you will. Right, it stays in place. So how do we do that? Well, for this one, we're looking for our drop triggers. So this is anytime I drop an item and want to trigger an effect. So all we're doing is, again, as you might expect, looking for our item and looking for the item frame. So again, our phantom membrane, that is now membrane paste using a new custom model. Then if we find a frame, which I have created a tag to actually join both the glow item frames and normal item frames, so I don't have to look for them both individually. And then if it doesn't have the invisible flag, so NBT, invisible true, which is 1B, it's going to modify it so that it is true. And then, like usual, we just have to do the cleanup section, which is play a sound, particle, and then delete the membrane paste so that you can't reuse the item. And the same goes for the nails. All we do is change the membrane paste to our iron nugget with our custom model data. Again, locate it and the item frame to play our sound, particle, and clean up. Then for the removal side of things, we're looking for another specific item, shears, to remove the iron nail effect, and brush to remove the invisibility effect. Again, super simple. All you do is you detect when certain events match, and in this case it is shears on top of an item frame with the fixed flag, or say the invisible flag if we're using the brush to clean up invisibility. Well, that's going to apply both. Yeah, so I got fixed, but it came invisible. And then we might as well just show off the effects right, since we're here. So if we go down to half a tick, I think this is the best indicator or trigger mechanism for this type of mechanic, so that a player sprinting over it still triggers the effect, but someone with a speed boost, for instance, can actually run over it. I'm triggering it every half tick, so every half a second, if you will. And all we're doing, like I said, is checking if a player is on top of the item frame with the specific item in it. So for instance, we're looking for the rune alert inside a item frame, glow item frame, because glow item frames trigger off of only players. So we're looking for at P, whereas a normal item frame triggers off of any entity, therefore we're looking for at E. Then we just summon our area effect cloud at the position, give it a specific particle, and then use it to apply an effect to the player. Then to clean up, all we have to do is clear out the item frame. So super simple again, we're using the same scenario. So if there's a player on top of the item frame with the mashing rune, we just use data remove at the item frame, item ID, and this gets rid of the item within the item frame. Ooh, mouthful. But I think that pretty much sums it up, right, for the first segment of the rune traps. So we'll probably do the greater runes next, because I will work away at the actual mechanics for them. So I do want to come up with something a bit more special, since they are the greater variants. than just applying an area effect cloud. Some more unique or specialized effects that actually make them worth crafting and utilizing. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one.